If you want to learn more about astrology, you have come to the right place. Welcome back to my Astrology Basics for Beginners series. I have spent the past two videos talking about planetary condition, domicile, detriment, exaltation, and fall. If you have not watched those two videos yet, I definitely recommend that you do that. Today, I'm just going to walk through some celebrity birth chart examples to demonstrate how I analyze planetary condition in a reading. My first example is Shakira, and Shakira was born on February 2nd, 1977, making her an Aquarius sun, at 9:30 a.m. in Barranquilla, Colombia. And I've transposed the traditional planets from her birth chart onto my whiteboard so we can go through it one by one. Beginning with her sun in Aquarius. The sun is the ruler of Leo. The sun has domicile in Leo, so in the opposite sign of Aquarius, the sun is in detriment. I have put DET to indicate detriment here. The next planet is her moon. Shakira has a Cancer moon, and the moon is actually the ruler of Cancer, so the moon is in domicile here. The next planet is Mercury, which is neutral in the sign of Capricorn, so no label there. And then she has her Venus in Aries. Venus rules the opposite sign of Libra, which means that Venus in Aries is in detriment. The next planet is Mars, and Mars is exalted in the sign of Capricorn. Shakira's Jupiter is in Taurus. Jupiter is neutral in Taurus, so we can move along to Saturn. Saturn is in Leo. Leo is across the wheel of the zodiac from Aquarius, where it has domicile. So Saturn here is also in detriment. There's also a concept in astrology called reception, which I'm going to make a full video about later, but Shakira does have what's called mutual reception here. She has the sun in Saturn's house, Saturn's sign, and she has Saturn in the sun's sign. So they're like doing a house swap. They're doing a house share. So even though they're both in detriment, they do have like direct access to the ruler of that house. So they're doing a little bit better than they would otherwise. So overall for Shakira, she has her sun in detriment, her moon in domicile, Mercury neutral, Venus in detriment, Mars in exaltation, Jupiter neutral, and Saturn in detriment. My next example is Patricia Arquette, the one and only Mrs. Cobell for any Severance fans and also longtime David Lynch muse. She was born on April 8th, 1968 at 11:55 a.m. in Chicago, Illinois. This is Patricia's birth chart. You'll notice that I've changed the way that these things are arranged because Patricia Arquette is a Leo rising. So Leo is a sign that is on the far left eastern hemisphere of her birth chart. This is the orientation you will likely always see for a birth chart, with the rising sign right here in this southern sliver of the left side. So going through Patricia Arquette's chart, she has her sun in Aries. The sun is exalted in Aries. She has her moon in Leo. The moon is neutral in Leo. She has Mercury in Aries. Mercury is neutral in Aries, but she has Venus in Pisces, and Venus is exalted in the sign of Pisces. Next for her Mars, she has Mars in Taurus, and Taurus opposes Scorpio on the wheel of the zodiac. Mars is the ruler of Scorpio, so Mars in the opposite sign is in detriment. We then move on to her Jupiter, which is in Leo, which is neutral. And then finally, her Saturn is in Aries. Saturn is exalted in the sign of Libra. Saturn loves those scales of justice. Aries is the opposite sign. So the opposite sign of a planet's exaltation is fall. Saturn here is in fall. So to summarize Patricia Arquette's chart, she has her sun exalted in the sign of Aries. She has her moon in Leo, neutral. She has Mercury in Aries, neutral. She has Venus in Pisces, which is Venus in its sign of exaltation. She has Mars in Taurus, which is in detriment. She has Jupiter in Leo, which is neutral. And then she has Saturn in Aries, which is its sign of fall. And for my final example, I'm using Brittany Murphy's chart. Brittany Murphy, the love of my life. She was born on November 10th, 1977 at 12:16 a.m. in Atlanta, Georgia. And Brittany Murphy is also a Leo rising, so I kept the chart oriented as is, with Leo here occupying what is the first house. Brittany Murphy has a Scorpio sun and a Scorpio moon. So the sun in Scorpio is neutral, but the moon in Scorpio is in fall. The moon is exalted in the opposite sign of Taurus. So in Scorpio, the moon is in fall. It's hard to write while I'm filming, but I'm doing it. Brittany has Mercury in the sign of Sagittarius. Mercury rules the sign of Gemini, which is opposite the zodiacal wheel from Sagittarius. So in Sag, Mercury is in detriment. Next, Brittany has her Venus in Scorpio. Scorpio opposes the sign of Taurus, where Venus rules. So Venus in Scorpio is in detriment. Next, Brittany has her Mars in the sign of Leo, which is neutral. And then she has her Jupiter in the sign of Cancer, which is where Jupiter is exalted. And finally, we have Brittany Murphy's Saturn, which is in the sign of Leo, opposing the sign of Aquarius, which Saturn rules. Therefore, Saturn here is in detriment. And so the summary for Brittany Murphy's chart is that her sun is neutral, her moon is in fall, her Mercury is in detriment, her Venus is in detriment, her Mars is neutral, her Jupiter is exalted, and her Saturn is in detriment. And of course, it meant something in Brittany Murphy's life that her moon was in fall. It means something in Patricia Arquette's life that her Venus is exalted. We are not ready to talk about that yet specifically, but I think it's good to just get some practice going through where the planets are domicile, detriment, exalted, and in fall. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. And as always, my name is Jessie James. I am a professional astrologer. If you are interested in booking an astrology reading with me, I would love to do that. You can book with me directly on my booking page at calendly.com/theastrodiva. I love you guys so much, and I think tomorrow I'm going to start introducing the concept of the houses, which is really exciting and will probably be a full week of videos.